Hello students, what is our respiratory organ? It's lungs. Inside the throat, food and air share a common passage. What is it called? It's pharynx. What is a breath? One inhalation and one exhalation makes a breath. So what is inhalation? Intake of air rich in oxygen is called inhalation. What is exhalation? Giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is called exhalation. What is the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide in inhaled and exhaled air? In inhaled air, the amount of oxygen is 21%. And in exhaled air, amount of oxygen is 16.4%. Whereas in inhaled air, amount of carbon dioxide is 0.04%. And in exhaled air, it becomes 4.4%. Now, effect of exhaled air on lime water. So, in a test tube, we take freshly prepared lime water. And with the help of a straw, air is blown into it few times. After doing so, we find the lime water turns milky. This lime water turns milky. What is the cause of it? Try to explain this change on the basis of what you have learnt in chapter 6. So far we have discussed about how do we breathe. What about other animals? Let us discuss. Animals such as elephants, lions, cows, goats, frogs, lizards, snakes, birds have lungs in their chest cavities like the human beings. How do other organisms breathe? Do they also have lungs like those of human beings? Let us find out. First, a cockroach. A cockroach has small openings on the sides of its body. Other insects also have similar openings. These openings are called spiracles. So what are the openings called? These are called spiracles. Insects have a network of air tubes called tracheae for gas exchange. Oxygen-rich air rushes into the tracheae through the spiracles, diffuses into the body tissue and reaches every cell of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cells goes out of tracheal tubes and moves out through the spiracles. These air tubes or tracheae are found only in insects and not in other group of animals. So, what are the breathing organ for these insects? It is, the opening is called the spiracle, and inside their body they have a tracheal system that is made up of air tubes. Next, earthworm. Earthworms breathe through their skins. The skin of an earthworm feels moist and slimy on touching. Gases can easily pass through them. Though frogs have a pair of lungs like human beings, they can also breathe through their skin, which is moist and slippery. How does a fish breathe? It breathes through its gills. Gills are the breathing organ of fish. So, gills help them to take dissolved oxygen. If you have an aquarium at home, you might have seen that is all the time the fish, they are opening and closing their mouth. Actually, air dissolved in water, that is oxygen dissolved in water, they take through their mouth and it passes through the gills. See, gills are comb-like structures which are present on their body, and it is covered by a structure that is called operculum. This is the covering which is covering the gills inside. So, there are many organisms which live in water. How do they breathe underwater? You have studied in class 6 that gills in fish help them to use oxygen dissolved in water. Gills are projections of the skin. You may wonder how gills help in breathing. Actually, water the fish take in through their mouth and it passes through the gills. Gills are well supplied with blood vessels for exchange of gases. That means the water which enters in and goes through the gills, the fish takes in the oxygen dissolved in water and it passes through the gills to the body. By that time, carbon dioxide from the body comes to the gills. The gills are covered by a covering that is called operculum. So they open the operculum and give out the water which contains carbon dioxide in it. Thus a fish breathes. Do plants also respire? Like other organisms, plants also respire for their survival. They also take in oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide. In the cells, oxygen is used to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water, as in other organisms. In plants, each part can independently take in oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide. It's not that they have a particular respiratory organ, rather each part can independently take up oxygen from the air. You have already learnt in chapter 1 that the leaves of the plants have tiny pores. What are these called? These are called stomata. So stomata help them in exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Like all other living cells of the plants, the root cells also need oxygen to generate energy. Roots take up air from the air spaces present between the soil particles with the help of their root hair. Here you see, these are the soil particles, and in between the soil particles there are air spaces. See, which are drawn with yellow. These are the air spaces. So from the air spaces, the air enters into the root through this root hair. This is the root hair. Stems also have the pores which are called lenticels, through which they take in the air. So at times if we overwater the plants, so what happens, the air spaces between the soil particles that is filled with water, and the plant roots do not get enough amount of air and they are unable to breathe. So in this chapter you have learned that respiration is a vital biological process. All living organisms need to respire to get energy needed for their survival. Thank you, students.